This is the news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Good evening and welcome to this evening's newscast on Kaieteur Radio. Kevin Smith here. Before we get to the news in detail, let's get to today's front page comment of the Kaieteur News. Robert Prasad's attempts to distract from those two oil blocks. Former Minister Robert Prasad, who was in the middle of the oil block fiascos, found his voice to mystify Guyanese. He said that it will take a generation for Guyana to recover from the 5-month elections deceptions of the coalition government. We marvel at the slickness of this previously silent shadow, who now surfaces to speak about elections fraud. Because when he tries to refocus the nation's attention and anger at elections, he is distracting from the oil block's trickeries. He struggles to rearrange the narratives towards elections, while obscuring the political skullduggeries concerning those oil blocks which were siphoned off with frontmen and cooperating comrades. Instead of damage control, we invite Mr. Prasad to tell the nation about the oil block frauds. As Mr. Prasad knows, only 2 of the oil blocks, Kanji and Kaieteur, that were given away could guarantee that this generation will lift itself out of poverty. And when those other oil blocks, Quarantine and Demerara and Stabroek, are considered, many generations of thinly populated Guyana can be turbo-powered out of poverty and made to flourish and prosper for lifetimes to come. And now for the news in detail. By the year 2025, Guyana will have owed some $20 billion to ExxonMobil and its partners in the Stabroek block. This is because the country has agreed to fully reimburse these oil majors for the amount of money it took them to take the oil out of the ground and for the drilling, transportation, and shipping. Because of the unfavorable contract terms that the leaders have signed on to, Guyana will be stuck in a never-ending stream of payments before it can even begin to reap any benefits from the oil industry. These are the damning comments of transparency advocate, chartered accountant, and attorney at law Christopher Ram. He reminded that even as the country seeks to pay off the billions of unaudited costs on the Stabroek block, ExxonMobil will continue to submit to the government further and higher bills on each of the licenses. In other news, the $1 billion Westminster School currently being constructed at La Parfait Harmony in Region 3 is expected to be completed by the end of this month. This was confirmed by Minister of Education Priya Manik Chand yesterday. The contract for the construction of the school was awarded by R. Basu and Sons Construction Company on October 1st, 2018 by the former Minister of Education, Dr. Nicolette Henry. And moving on, it was a single stab wound to the heart that ended the life of Amrita Rahim, a mother of 3 killed by her husband. This is according to the post-mortem result. The autopsy was carried out yesterday and revealed that her cause of death was perforation to the heart due to a stab wound. Meanwhile, we were informed by relatives that the suspect went to the Blairmont police station and confessed that he had just killed his wife, but the police sent him away because he was drunk. The relatives are outraged about the manner in which the police handled the situation at the time. The suspect was subsequently arrested and is assisting with investigations. And moving on, local contractor BK International Incorporated has written to Minister of Legal Affairs and Attorney General Anil Nandlal requesting a review of the government's decision to terminate the $827 million Yarrow Cabra Secondary School contract. BK was awarded a contract, and these and other details were revealed by BK's PRO, Adam Harris. The government had terminated the services of BK and Courtney Ben Contracting Services for the construction of 2 schools totaling $1.1 billion. The government had premised their decision to terminate the contract on the fact that the contractors had failed to honor their obligations. And now for some news coming in tomorrow's Kaieteur newspaper and Kaieteur Radio's newscast. Exxon cheated Guyana on pre-contract costs, says Christopher Ram. Now, attorney at law, chartered accountant and transparency advocate Christopher Ram is of the position that ExxonMobil has cheated Guyana in millions of US dollars claimed to have been spent by the oil major. The accusation that the attorney refers to is his charge that Exxon's claims of $460 million US dollar pre-contract cost is overstated by at least $92 million US dollars. Ram's calculation found that all figures supplied by the companies, even when one allows for all expenses and expenditures, amount to a far cry from the $460,237,918 million that Exxon and its partners Hess and CNOOC Nexen are claiming. And moving on, businessman denies any wrongdoing and claims he is caught in a political battle. After being arrested for questioning in relation to the Peters Hall land giveaway investigations, businessman Eddie Dulal has claimed innocence and said that he is merely caught up in a political battle. Dulal, director and secretary of AZ Pharmaceutical Medical Supplies and Equipment, is one of the 2 businessmen who had received state lands situated at Peters Hall, East Bank Demerara, from NISIL, and who both later transferred the lands to Chinese national Jai Fen Yu for 100 Guyana dollars. Meanwhile, opposition members of Parliament on Monday filed a parliamentary motion for the appointment of a commission of inquiry to investigate September's unrest and shooting at the Lusignan prison, which left 2 inmates dead. According to the documents seen, the motion was raised by Gita Chandan Edmund and seconded by German Figuera, both members of the APNU-AF. That should be the APNU. Chandan Edmund said during a press conference held in front of Parliament building before the motion was filed that relatives of the dead inmates are seeking answers and it's the government's duty to give them satisfaction. Let's tell you now that the second person charged for the 2016 murder of Maikoni businesswoman Bibi Shairoon Nisha Ali has pleaded not guilty to the charge. Navindra Singh pleaded to the indictment at the selection of a mixed 12-member jury at the Georgetown High Court yesterday. He was initially charged along with 27-year-old Devanan Ramprasad, who pleaded guilty to the lesser offense of manslaughter when he faced a judge at the High Court last year. Ramprasad has since been sentenced to life in prison for the crime and is expected to serve at least 25 years in jail before being eligible for the possibility of parole. Today, Singh, the second person charged in the murder, joined the proceedings via Zoom from the Lusignan prison. And that brings us to the end of this evening's newscast. I am Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening and do have an enjoyable and safe Tuesday evening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio.